Chapter 1157. Feng Yuan's mind was slightly damaged. If Luo Qingtong hadn't released the restriction outside Imotianshuan's body, how could she come back safely? She would definitely be like that transcendent saint of the Great Yong sacred dynasty. Her mind would be completely destroyed and she would be seriously injured. And now, although Feng Yuan's mind power was damaged, his main body didn't receive any damage. It was completely because Luo Qingtong deliberately let her come back. As for why she did this, Luo Qingtong's lips suddenly curved into a smile. That smile was both evil and seductive. It was full of evil and domineering. Of course, I want you to have a taste of your strength being taken away. Thank you for what you did in Imotianshuan's body. You saved me a lot of trouble. When Luo Qingtong said this, the look in her eyes suddenly changed and became very cold. Reverse. She raised her hand and pointed out. Long before, the skill of seizing fate in Imotianshuan's body had been completely analyzed by her. Even where Feng Yuan's trick was and how to reverse the power of seizing fate, Luo Qingtong had deduced it. When this finger was pointed out in an instant, the aura in Feng Yuan's body was suffocated, and then quickly reversed and flowed, surging wildly along a connection in the dark. Impossible. Feng Yuan guessed what Luo Qingtong was going to do at the moment when she asked. But her heart was full of disbelief. Imotianshuan was already dead when she activated the skill of seizing fate in his body. How was it possible for Luo Qingtong to reverse his actions and absorb his strength when his aura was cut off? Wait. She sensed for a moment and suddenly screamed. Evil Dr. Ghost Eye. You actually established the connection of the skill of seizing fate in your body. His strength had been absorbed by her. This bitch. Luo Qingtong's voice was slow for a while. I have seen through your skill of seizing fate. Is it difficult to draw a picture according to the gourd? The only difficult thing is to transfer your connection. But when I just found you, I had already succeeded. Luo Qingtong had closed her eyes after activating the 8-sided dragon lock spell because of this. But now, she had succeeded. With Luo Qingtong's voice and Feng Yuan's resentment, Feng Yuan's strength was constantly absorbed. Evil Dr. Ghost Eye, you bitch. He felt that his strength was constantly declining. On the other end, Luo Qingtong's strength was constantly increasing. Feng Yuan was so angry that she was trembling all over. The arrangement that he had made to absorb Imotianshuan's strength actually helped his opponent in the end. Luo Qingtong absorbed his strength. If Feng Yuan's psychological quality was a little worse, he would have vomited blood and fainted on the spot. While Feng Yuan's strength was constantly declining, on the other side, in the sky above the Crown Prince's mansion of the Empire of Qin, Luo Qingtong's aura was constantly rising. Qingtong. After absorbing the strength of Imotianshuan, Ma Chenye's strength had risen to the peak of the martial spirit realm and touched the existence of the sage realm faintly. The strength that had been dormant all these years had all been replenished. He even had a chance to win. For a moment, he could not hide his excitement and wanted to come up to Luo Qingtong to thank her. Chapter 1158. Boom! Yi Qianxian raised his hand, and an air wall instantly surrounded Luo Qingtong. She's improving. The man's voice was cold. The Grand Supreme Dean and the others rushed over and saw some clues. Your Highness, don't go over there. The evil doctor should be dealing with the heavenly doctor. The Grand Supreme Dean and the others could not see where Luo Qingtong's sudden improvement in strength came from. But when they thought of the heavenly doctor hiding behind Imotianshuan and coveting the Empire of Qin, they could guess that the other party must have done something to Imotianshuan. But now, she was caught by the evil doctor and was absorbing her strength. The group of people thought so and immediately retreated to a place not far away. They looked over here without blinking, so as not to disturb Luo Qingtong. Bang bang bang. The aura around Luo Qingtong's body was constantly improving. Low-level Martial Emperor Realm. Middle-level Martial Emperor Realm. High-level Martial Emperor Realm. The strength that Feng Yuan had improved from the experience in the secret realm was all for her. Feng Yuan's eyes were red from the absorption. She was about to break through to the Saint Realm, but under Luo Qingtong's absorption, she continued to lose strength. Master! Finally, seeing that the strength in her body had fallen from the peak martial spirit realm to the high-level martial spirit realm, Feng Yuan finally could not bear it. She used her mind to call out the wisp of green smoke that had returned to her body after sending her back. When the latter woke up and saw this scene, he was shocked. What's going on? The wisp of green smoke said angrily. Then, it suddenly attacked and stopped Luo Qingtong from continuing to absorb the strength in Feng Yuan's body. In the Crown Prince's mansion of the sacred dynasty of the Empire of Qin, blood flowed in Luo Qingtong's eyes. The appearance of that wisp of green smoke was accurately reflected in her eyes. There was such an existence in Feng Yuan's body? Luo Qingtong looked at the wisp of green smoke, and her lips suddenly curled up slightly. At this moment, she sensed that outside Princess Feng Yuan's mansion, an extremely violent and terrible force was flying towards here. It's that transcendent saint from the Great Yong sacred dynasty. Luo Qingtong sensed the aura and laughed. Thinking of Feng Yuan's loss in the Empire of Qin dynasty, the smile on Luo Qingtong's lips became even more evil and leisurely. She allowed the power of the green smoke to cut off the connection between her and Feng Yuan. Luo Qingtong retracted her consciousness and sensed the power in her body. She nodded with satisfaction. Martial Emperor Peak. To be able to raise my strength by so many levels in one night, I really have to thank the first princess of Great Yong for her contribution. Luo Qingtong's eyes were full of smiles. Her blood-red eyes curved into the shape of a crescent moon. Her appearance was both demonic and pure. Her strength had reached the peak martial emperor realm, which was the limit. After all, the breakthrough between small realms was just a gradual increase in quantity. It was fine as long as she had enough strength. But the breakthrough of a big realm was completely different. In addition to having enough strength, one also needed to have enough comprehension and opportunity to break through the barrier and advance to the next realm. Luo Qingtong. Thanks to Feng Yuan's contribution, Luo Qingtong was able to increase her strength by so many levels. In fact, Feng Yuan was so angry that he vomited blood. Chapter 1159. She had suffered a lot in that secret realm and managed to raise her strength to a level that was only a step away from the sage realm. She thought that after absorbing Emotionshuan's strength, she would be able to break through to the sage realm. But now, not to mention breaking through to the sage realm, her strength had fallen to the high-level martial spirit realm. The strength that she had painstakingly accumulated was all given to Luo Qingtong. And all of this was her own fault. She wanted to absorb Emotionshuan's strength, but Luo Qingtong took advantage of this weakness and absorbed her strength. Thinking of this, Feng Yuan was mad with anger. Puff! She raised her head and spat out a mouthful of blood. Then she screamed loudly and tore her hair desperately. Just when she was hysterical and could not control herself, bang! The door to her room was kicked open by someone. The transcendent saint of the Great Yong sacred dynasty rushed in from outside with bloodshot eyes. He looked angrily at Feng Yuan, who was lying on the ground in a sorry state, and waved his sleeve fiercely. Feng Yuan! In the next second, a slap landed on Feng Yuan's face. In an instant, Feng Yuan was sent flying. Bang! Feng Yuan's body hit the wall of her bedroom heavily, and then smashed through the wall and flew out. Bastard! I must have been possessed by a ghost to listen to you. Do you know how much our Great Yong royal family has suffered this time? Without the protection of the country's fate accumulated over so many years, our Great Yong sacred dynasty has become the weakest among the 4 dynasties. Not only that, the power of the royal bloodline has decreased by more than 20%. Feng Yuan, you deserve to die. The transcendent saint from the Great Yong sacred dynasty looked at Feng Yuan as if he wanted to eat her alive. After suffering such a great loss, he would almost become the sinner of the entire Great Yong royal family. And all of this was because of Feng Yuan. The transcendent saint of the Great Yong sacred dynasty could not hold back his anger as he spoke, and he rushed forward again. Seeing that the other party had lost his mind, the wisp of green smoke in Feng Yuan's body could no longer sit still. It suddenly appeared, and with a flash of Feng Yuan's body, they disappeared from the room. How dare you run? The transcendent saint of the great Yong royal family was furious. A strong gust of wind gushed out violently, and with a boom, the sleeping chamber was smashed into pieces. Then his body suddenly, and his voice spread throughout the entire great Yong sacred capital. Pass down my order. From today onwards, strip Feng Yuan of her princess status and all her privileges. Send men to arrest Wan Yong's sacred dynasty. Bring her Yong, that Feng Yong saint of the transcendent saint of the great transcendent saint of the great Yong royal great saint of the great Yong saint of the great Yong saint transcendent of the Feng saint of the Feng Wan. That bastard had almost harmed the entire great Yong royal family. Thinking that they had not only lost the power of the country's fate that great Yong had accumulated over the years, but also had to face the questioning of the Empire of Qin. Why had their power of the country's fate appeared in the sacred capital of the Empire of Qin and even attacked the crown prince of the Empire of Qin? The veins on the forehead of the transcendent saint of the great Yong sacred dynasty throbbed. He must bring Feng Yuan back. That would be the end of this matter. Otherwise, he would not be able to answer to the Empire of Qin. Having his power of the country's fate devoured and having to lower his head to the other party, the transcendent saint of the great Yong sacred dynasty felt that he had never been so aggrieved before. And all of this was caused by that traitorous grandson of Feng Yuan. Chapter 1160. At the same time, the wisp of smoke took Feng Yuan away from the capital of Great Yong and stopped in the wilderness far away from the capital. Then, it asked Feng Yuan angrily, "What did you do when I was asleep? How did things turn out like this?" The wisp of smoke sounded really angry. How long had it been since she fell asleep? Feng Yuan had become like this. That transcendent saint from the great Yong dynasty clearly wanted to beat her to death. What had she done to anger him to this extent? He even gave the order to strip her of her status as a princess and put her on the wanted list. From being a princess above all others, she had become like this. Was Feng Yuan crazy? I didn't do anything. I just wanted to follow the original plan and take control of the Empire of Qin. It's that evil Dr. Gui Tong. It's him. He caused me to become like this. Half of Feng Yuan's face was swollen at this moment. She had just been slapped by that transcendent saint of the great Yong dynasty, and she had almost lost all her teeth. At this moment, her graceful, luxurious, and complacent temperament was completely gone, leaving only a hysterical breakdown. Feng Yuan didn't know how she ended up like this. She had also heard the orders of that transcendent saint from Great Yong. If it weren't for that evil Dr. Gui Tong, she definitely wouldn't have ended up like this today. The Empire of Qin's royal family should have long been in her hands. Ma Chen-ye's true dragon's fate was broken, and Imo Chen-xian would definitely die. At this time, she should have become the most powerful person in the Great Yong dynasty, second only to the emperor. However, the truth was the opposite. Her chance to return to glory was all ruined by evil Dr. Gui Tong. Not only that, she had also become a wanted person in the entire Great Yong dynasty. From a princess to a wanted criminal, not to mention the wisp of smoke, even she couldn't accept it. She still hadn't completely broken down, which was already considered a strong psychological quality. That evil Dr. Gui Tong is really difficult to deal with. After listening to Feng Yuan's story, the wisp of smoke's face turned serious. He had once told Feng Yuan not to take her seriously. Now, it seemed that the speed of evil Dr. Gui Tong's improvement was too shocking. If this continued, Feng Yuan would definitely not be her opponent. Go to the western wilderness. After thinking for a moment, the wisp of smoke made a decision. He said, "The Yong dynasty, the great Yong dynasty, the great Yong dynasty, the empire, the great Yong dynasty. That transcendent saint from the great Yong dynasty will not let you off. And if the royal family of the great Qin sacred dynasty were to find out about your identity as the celestial doctor, they would never let you off. You have to regain the great Yong dynasty." Before Yong started, the great Yai Yong, go to the western wilderness. I have a way to let you directly break through to the Saint Realm. When you return to the Great Yong dynasty as a Saint Realm expert, The Great Yong Dynasty's Transcendent Saint Realm expert will forgive you no matter how big your mistake was. At that time, as a Saint Realm expert, you will also be able to shine in that Great Yong Dynasty's Transcendent Saint Realm expert. At that time, that evil Dr. Gray Tong won't be your opponent. All right. Feng Yuan nodded fiercely. She had really lost too miserably this time. Chapter 1161. Evil Dr. Ghost Eye, didn't you rely on various methods to absorb my strength? When I become a saint, I want to see what use your methods are. I will definitely crush you. Great Yong, I will definitely return. Feng Yuan followed the wisp of green smoke and swept towards the far west wilderness. As for the Empire of Qin's sacred dynasty, Luo Qingtong felt it was a pity that she couldn't continue to leave her mental strength in the Great Yong sacred dynasty to watch the show. Then she descended. Qingtong. Ma Chunyi and the Grand Supreme Dean ran over. You're really something, kid. The Grand Supreme Dean looked at the abundant aura around Luo Qingtong, and his eyes lit up. With a single glance, it was obvious that this evil doctor child had taken advantage of the heavenly doctor. Thinking of how the evil doctor had attacked Ma Chunyi and almost destroyed the true dragon fate in his body, the Grand Supreme Dean applauded in his heart. Serves them right. They let the evil doctor hide in the dark. They even set their sights on the sacred emperor. Thinking of this, the Grand Supreme Dean suddenly clapped his hands. Right? This time, the Great Yong sacred dynasty's golden dragon fate made a move. They definitely can't get away with it. I will immediately ask the sacred emperor to issue an imperial edict to demand an explanation from the Great Yong royal family. Not to mention anything else, how did the heavenly doctor use the true dragon fate of the Great Yong royal family? They must give an explanation. And that heavenly doctor, they must also hand him over. No need. The saint transcendence of the Empire of Qin's sacred dynasty strode forward at this time. I have already asked the sacred emperor to issue an imperial edict. This time, the Great Yong sacred dynasty must give an explanation. The Great Chu sacred dynasty can also participate. Luo Qingtong's expression was indifferent. She didn't say that Feng Yuan was the heavenly doctor. She would let the Great Yong royal family make things difficult for him. At that time, Feng Yuan would naturally suffer. And didn't Feng Yuan like acting? She gave him this opportunity. The smile on Luo Qingtong's lips was clear. Wouldn't it be boring if the answer was revealed so quickly? Let the imperial family of the Empire of Qin and the imperial family of Great Chu force the imperial family of Great Yong. Luo Qingtong was very happy to see Feng Yuan struggle. However, it was unlikely that he would be able to see the other party suffer. Luo Qingtong thought of the wisp of green smoke she saw in Feng Yuan's body. Things were really interesting. She liked challenging things. If Great Chu is willing to join forces, that would be even better. The moment Luo Qingtong's words left her mouth, everyone immediately recalled Luo Qingtong's other identity, Great Chu's Princess Xing Ning. If the Great Chu was willing to join forces, then the pressure on Great Yong would be even greater. As for Blackfield, everyone ignored Yi Qianren who was at the side. This kind of small matter didn't require Blackfield's help. Moreover, Luo Qingtong didn't intend to completely expose her identity as the evil Dr. Ghost Eye, so there was no need to use Blackfield's power. Luo Qingtong also thought so. Why use a butcher's knife to kill a chicken? Moreover, if she guessed correctly, Feng Yuan should have left Great Yong under the protection of that wisp of green smoke. If they couldn't deal with the main character, why would they need Blackfield's help? The group didn't stay in the Crown Prince's residence for too long and dispersed. Luo Qingtong still needed to consolidate her strength. After a tiring night, she was also tired. She lazily leaned on Yi Qianxian. Chapter 1162. Luo Qingtong yawned as she was put on the bed by Yi Qianxian. The man held her wrist and sent his aura into her body to check. I'm fine. Luo Qingtong's eyes curved. She knew that Yi Qianxian was worried that she suddenly increased so much power, and that there would be problems with her cultivation. However, Luo Qingtong knew the source of the power, so she naturally knew that there was nothing wrong. Feng Yuan did those things to Emotionshuan's body in order to prepare for her to improve her own strength. Luo Qingtong copied it exactly and then reversed it. She used Feng Yuan's method, so there was no problem. That was why Feng Yuan was so angry after she absorbed his power. Thinking of his livid expression at that time, Luo Qingtong couldn't help but chuckle. She helped Feng Yuan to get back some of the debt he owed the original owner of the body. As for the rest, when she met Feng Yuan in the future, she would slowly get it back little by little. Embarrassed, humiliated, and unbearable? Feng Yuan would soon know that this was just the beginning. Luo Qingtong spent 3 days to consolidate the strength in her body. Yi Qianxian checked her body and found that there were no hidden dangers or hidden problems in her body, so he was relieved. In the following time, Luo Qingtong finally had time to interrogate the outer core disciples of Celestial Palace. In the dark prison cell. After the outer core disciples of Celestial Palace were caught by Bei Qing and others, they were locked in the dungeon of the Imperial Palace of the Empire of Qin. Up until the moment they were caught, they were still in a daze. They couldn't figure out how Luo Qingtong, who was chased out by Elder Xie, could appear in front of them unscathed. And why did the people of Blackfield suddenly intervene in the affairs of Celestial Palace? Could it be that they, a big sect in the hidden world, couldn't compare to a student of the Saint Academy of the Empire of Qin? Even if the other party was a princess of the Great Chu sacred dynasty, she couldn't compare to Celestial Palace. However, when they learned of Luo Qingtong's identity, they realized how much trouble they had caused. What shocked them even more was what Luo Qingtong asked them. Tell me, how much do you know about the tomb of the saint? Why did Celestial Palace send you out this time? Luo Qingtong hugged the little pig and leaned against the armchair. She looked indifferently at the terrified outer sect disciples of the Celestial Supreme Palace. Squatting on her shoulder was the little golden mouse that was dedicated to acting cute. At this moment, the little mouse was using its little paws and head to rub Luo Qingtong. There was no need to mention how adorable she looked. Looking at the little mouse's actions, the outer core disciples of Celestial Palace didn't know what to say. That was their sect's precious mouse, and it was so affectionate towards Luo Qingtong. What did she do to it? And how did she let it escape from Elder Xie's control? The group of people looked at Luo Qingtong with even more fear. They didn't know how many tricks she had up her sleeve. And now Luo Qingtong spoke of the tomb of the saint. Looking at the map in the young girl's hand, the group of Celestial Palace's outer sect disciples trembled even more violently. This map had fallen into the hands of Luo Qingtong. It seemed that Elder Xie was really doomed. And Luo Qingtong had also cracked the secret of the map. They looked at each other. Chapter 1163. Luo Qingtong raised her eyebrows. She looked at the outer court disciple from Celestial Palace and felt that he was quite smart. He didn't take the opportunity to negotiate with her, but directly said that he would be loyal to her. They were smart enough to know that they would die regardless of whether they spoke or not, so they chose the path that was most likely to lead to their deaths. Okay. Luo Qingtong nodded. Elder Xie had been executed, so it didn't matter whether she killed these outer court disciples from Celestial Palace or not. Since they were willing to swear allegiance to her, she would leave them alive and give them to Yen Yang. They would be useful. After all, these outer court disciples from Celestial Palace weren't weak. Since they didn't want to die, Luo Qingtong didn't have to kill them. As for betrayal, since Luo Qingtong dared to accept them, she wasn't afraid that they would betray her. They wouldn't have the chance. Okay. Seeing that Luo Qingtong agreed, the group of Celestial Palace outer sect disciples heaved a sigh of relief. They immediately told her what they knew about the Saint Monarch's tomb. We're not particularly clear about these things. We only know that the sect sent us to the Saint Monarch's tomb because it is said that the secret of the land of the fallen immortals is hidden inside. As for what it is, we don't know. The group of people shook their heads. Land of the fallen immortals? Luo Qingtong's eyes narrowed. She had been suspicious before. With Celestial Palace's status and strength in the hidden world, why would they suddenly send a group of people to find the Saint Monarch's tomb? It had to be known that most of the powerhouses in True Spill Continent had to look up to a Saint Realm powerhouse. But for the hidden world, it should be considered ordinary. After all, Elder Xie, an outer elder, was already a transcendent saint. Yes, land of the fallen immortals. The outer court disciples from Celestial Palace nodded. You people from True Spill Continent may not know, but this happened in the hidden world. It is said that a long time ago, for some unknown reason, many experts from outside the realm suddenly came to the hidden world, and then a great battle broke out. That battlefield is the land of the fallen immortals. It's said that the land of the fallen immortals hides an extremely powerful treasure. Those experts from the other realms are fighting for it. However, no one knows if this is true or not. The sect has received news that the secret of the land of the deceased immortals is hidden in the sacred emperor tomb. That's why they sent us here. As for why he sent a few outer court disciples and an outer court elder, it was naturally to deceive others. After all, the secrets of the treasures in the land of the fallen immortals were extremely tempting. If news of this were to leak out, the entire hidden world would probably respond to it. Celestial Palace was not the strongest sect among them, so they might not be able to get anything. Naturally, they had to be careful and hide it. However, they did not expect that Elder Xie was greedy because of the gold-seeking hamster's reaction to Luo Qingtong. This news and the map were all given to Luo Qingtong. After listening to their words, Luo Qingtong had a thoughtful look on her face. After she made them all swear an oath, she sent them to Yen Yang so that she could make the best use of them. Then Luo Qingtong began to prepare for her trip to the far west wilderness. After she obtained the map of the sacred emperor tomb, she had this plan. After absorbing Feng Luan's strength and reaching the peak of the martial emperor realm, she was even more determined to go. Staying in the Empire of Qin's Sacred Institute was no longer useful for her strength improvement. She might be able to comprehend some breakthroughs by going to the far west wilderness. It was not yet time for that grand event, so Luo Qingtong still had time. Chapter 1164. Yen Yang. Looking at the message in her hand, Luo Qingtong frowned slightly. It was written that she wanted to ask Luo Qingtong a favor in her personal capacity. She wanted to invite Luo Qingtong to come to the Black Field of the Empire of Qin. Luo Qingtong frowned slightly. She thought of the outer disciples of Celestial Palace that she had sent to the Black Field of the Empire of Qin. Could it be related to this matter? Luo Qingtong always knew that Yen Yang's identity was not ordinary. Ordinary women did not have Yen Yang's charm and temperament, let alone her exquisite skills that seemed to come from a big family. But Luo Qingtong did not care about this. As long as the other party worked hard for her, it did not matter where they came from or whether they had any trouble. Since Yen Yang woke up, she had been helping Luo Qingtong to properly manage the power in the Black Field. She had never let her worry about it. Even the matter of Su Yu was the same. Based on this point alone, if she had any request, Luo Qingtong would not disappoint her as long as it was within her power. What's more, Chu Lingfeng, that blockhead, was loyal to her and even sold his life to her. Luo Qingtong came to the Black Field of the Empire of Qin. Yen Yang was already waiting for her at the mansion. Master! Seeing Luo Qingtong, Yen Yang bowed deeply and saluted to Luo Qingtong. Yes. Luo Qingtong looked at her and nodded. Between you and me, there is no need for such a big salute. Yen Yang, if you have something to say, just say it. As long as I can do it, I will do it for you. Luo Qingtong made her promise. To be able to meet Master is the luckiest thing in Yen Yang's and Sun's lives. Yen Yang looked at Luo Qingtong and bowed deeply again. She knew how important Luo Qingtong's promise to her was. This meant that as long as Luo Qingtong could do it, she would definitely support them, no matter what. Yen Yang's eyes were moist. When she was on the verge of death in the Blackfield city of Eastern Fence Country, she had never thought that she would be reborn one day. Not only that, but he could also live with more dignity. Now, in the entire main city of the Empire of Qin's Blackfield, who wouldn't respectfully call her shopkeeper Yen when they saw her? No one dared to look down on her just because she was a woman and her cultivation was not high. It was because of the person standing behind her, evil Dr. Ghost Eye. Luo Qingtong gave her and her son a new life, helped her son to improve his strength, and gave her the hope to live on. Now, she was willing to support her. Yen Yang felt that even if she died for Luo Qingtong, she would not be able to repay her kindness. She bowed deeply to Luo Qingtong with tears in her eyes, then took a deep breath and said to Luo Qingtong, "Actually, it's not a big deal. This time I specially invited Master to come, just to ask Master. If this time we go to the far west wilderness and coincide with the appearance of the Saint King's tomb, at that time, if the far west wilderness is in turmoil, can you take care of family who in the wilderness city for me?" Yen Yang's eyes were deep, and she bowed again to Luo Qingtong. Family who? Luo Qingtong looked at Yen Yang. The wilderness city was the first city in the far west wilderness. This family who could live in it, so their strength must not be weak. Yes, family who, Yen Yang lowered her head, the tears in her eyes were faintly discernible. That's Yen Yang's family. The current head of the family, Hu Zhongtian, is my father. Chapter 1165. Looking at Luo Qingtong, Yen Yang took a deep breath and said, "Master, if you see family who in trouble, please help him. If not, just forget it. Don't mention my name, okay?" Luo Qingtong looked at her and nodded. Although she didn't know why Yen Yang, with such a high status, was reduced to a city in the Black Field of Dongli country and almost died there. But this was her private matter. If she didn't say, Luo Qingtong wouldn't ask more. "I'll remember this," she said. "Thank you, Master." After saying goodbye to Yen Yang, Luo Qingtong returned to the Saint Academy of the Empire of Qin. The Grand Dean was very happy because of the improvement of Ma Chenye's strength. He knew that Luo Qingtong was a lucky girl. As soon as she came to the Saint Academy, his worries were solved. Not only that, those annoying guys from the Elders Association were also gone. How wonderful the world was! However, before he could be happy for long, he heard the news that Luo Qingtong told him. What? His face turned green as he roared angrily. You want to leave the Saint Academy of the Empire of Qin and go to the Western Wilderness? Even the Grand Principal didn't know how to hide the emaciated look on his face. Damn, this girl was too much. How long had she been in the Saint Academy of the Empire of Qin? She wanted to run away. Moreover, he had given her more than half a year's leave. Because of this, the whole Saint Academy of the Empire of Qin was almost turned upside down. Although it was suppressed by this girl in the end and the Elders Association were slapped in the face, it was still a violation of the rules of the Saint Academy. Once was enough, but a second time? This girl should leave him a way out. If other students also asked him to do this, what would he say? The Grand Dean's face was as green as a newly picked vegetable leaf. But I don't want to. Luo Qingtong looked at him innocently. She spread out her hands and turned in a circle in front of the Grand Supreme Dean. Look at my current strength. If I stay in the Saint Academy of the Empire of Qin, I won't have any chance to improve in the short term. Logically speaking, I should go out and gain experience. Luo Qingtong blinked her eyes and looked at the Grand Supreme Dean. If I go to the far west wilderness, I might be able to make some progress. I really don't stand a chance in the Sacred Academy of the Empire of Qin. Wait, don't talk about those things in the Sky Hall's training ground. They're completely useless to me. These words were simply heart-wrenching. However, what was even more heart-wrenching was that the Grand Supreme Dean actually couldn't refute it. When Luo Qingtong fought with the members of the Dragon Regiment in the Sky Hall's training ground, he knew that the training there would be of no use to her. The great teacher of the Array Institute had been pestering him for a long time, saying that he wanted Luo Qingtong to be the lead disciple in their institute. None of the students in his institute could catch up to Luo Qingtong's level. The Grand Supreme Dean was pestered by him until he agreed to let Luo Qingtong go to his institute to be the honorary lead disciple of the Array Institute. As for those secret realms, they naturally couldn't be compared to the ones in the far west wilderness. Moreover, the Grand Supreme Dean knew that the group of people from the Celestial Palace was going to the far west wilderness. There must be something going on there. Luo Qingtong must have obtained something good from Elder Xie, so she must go to the far west wilderness. The Grand Supreme Dean thought about it and couldn't find any reason to oppose Luo Qingtong going to the far west wilderness. He was simply heartbroken. The dignified Saint Academy of the Empire of Qin was actually disliked to this extent. Chapter 1166. The highest dean looked at Luo Qingtong with resentment. Finally, he nodded and said, "All right, you can go, even if you are going to experience the world in advance. However, you must be there on time for the grand event in 3 months." As the highest dean spoke to hear, his entire face turned solemn. He said in a low voice, "Don't blame this old man for being long-winded. Little baby girl, I know that you have revered deep protecting you, but in this world, there are thousands of good things, tens of thousands of good things, but none of them are as good as yourself. Your ability is extraordinary, far from what the average person can hope to achieve. I am not afraid to say some things that will anger you. If it weren't for revered deep protecting you, then with your alchemy, array formations, and strange branding methods, all the other influences would have already taken action and imprisoned you, turning you into their exclusive property. Even I am not exempt from this. After all, in this world, it is easy to find a strong powerhouse. But for someone like you, with your incredible ability and monstrous talent in all aspects, it is impossible to obtain. You are a giant treasure that has been moved away, a little baby girl who doesn't even know it. Everyone wants to take you for themselves. You must have known your own abilities before, thus you have always hidden your identity as evil Dr. Ghost Pupil. But hiding your identity will always be revealed one day. If revered deep is careless, and your strength is not strong enough, then what awaits you may be a calamity of complete annihilation. Little baby girl, this grand meeting is related to entering the hidden world. The environment there is greatly beneficial to you, and it is also the path you must take to leave the true Spill continent. You must not miss this opportunity. The highest dean carefully warned. It was clear that his words were truly concerned for Luo Qingtong. He was afraid that after Luo Qingtong went to the far western wilderness, she would accidentally miss this grand meeting. When he had brought Luo Qingtong to the Empire of Qin's Holy Academy, he had the idea of having her bring glory to the Empire of Qin's Holy Academy. But this was also beneficial to Luo Qingtong. Even if he missed this grand meeting, there was still another grand meeting for him to make a comeback. But if Luo Qingtong missed this event, it might be a great loss. After all, the increase in strength didn't wait for anyone, especially someone as talented as Luo Qingtong. If he missed it once, how much improvement would he miss out on? Unknowingly, he had wasted an opportunity. All right, Grand Principal, I understand. Luo Qingtong looked at him and nodded. With her sharp perception of people's hearts, she naturally knew that the Grand Principal's words were not selfish and were completely out of consideration for her. However, so the Grand Principal also had thoughts about me before? Luo Qingtong crossed her arms and looked at the Grand Principal with raised eyebrows. Ah! The Grand Supreme Dean laughed dryly. That's human nature, but I'm just saying, I was warned by Ming Zun before I had the chance to do anything to you. Where would I get the chance? He muttered. He had gone to look for her as soon as he had heard of her reputation. But at that time, he was purely curious and wanted to sound her out. If she was good, he would have dug her out. Later, Luo Qingtong's reputation spread that she was an alchemist. He already knew that she was one of Ming Zun's people, so how could he have any ideas about her? Luo Qingtong looked at him with a smile that wasn't a smile, causing him to feel a chill in his heart. Chapter 1167. When Luo Qingtong walked out of the office, the Grand President was on the verge of tears. This evil Dr. Brat still wanted to extort him for the Heavenly Evil Group before leaving. The cultivation resources he had accumulated over the years. However, when he recalled that Luo Qingtong had promised him before she left that she would heal his internal injuries completely after she returned and her abilities increased, the Grand Supreme Dean felt comforted. Forget it, I'll just treat it as paying the consultation fee in advance. Even if he begged others, they wouldn't be able to cure him. Only this evil Dr. Child had the ability to do so. Right? When you leave, Remember to tell me when you go to the Soul Institute to test your innate talent. You brat, you've been here for so long, but you still haven't tested your talent. Although you definitely have it, you should at least test your innate talent. Looking at Luo Qingtong's departing figure, he raised his voice. Got it. Luo Qingtong waved her hand with her back facing him, then left. In the courtyard of the Heavenly Evil Group, Yuan Hu, Su Xiaoxiao, Ling Tianhan, and the others were all waiting for Luo Qingtong. Beside them were Ma Chenyi and Yu Qingwei. Bus. Seeing Luo Qingtong return, Yuan Hu and the others all gathered around her. Ma Chenyi and Yu Qingwei stood to the side and watched. Qingtong. Ma Chenyi looked at Luo Qingtong and nodded slightly. He didn't have time to thank Luo Qingtong that day before she was carried away by Yi Chenxian. Today, when he heard that Luo Qingtong was preparing to leave, he specially came to thank her and say goodbye. I'm going to enter the Imperial family's secret training grounds to cultivate and consolidate and improve the dragon qi in my body. After being silent for so many years, there are still many areas where the dragon qi in my body hasn't improved. He looked at Luo Qingtong and smiled. We'll meet again at the gathering in 3 months. I hope you'll surprise us like last time when you asked for leave. Ha. Luo Qingtong looked at him and laughed. Okay, you guys wait. Ma Chenyi looked at her deeply and then left with a smile. The young man's smile was gentle and elegant, and his gaze was calm and reserved. He was becoming more and more domineering and awe-inspiring. He memorized Luo Qingtong's face deeply in his heart. Then he turned around and left with a smile, not leaving a trace of loneliness in front of others. Some people were destined to be divine phoenixes above the 9 heavens. Ordinary people could not obtain them. He did not wish to be able to obtain Luo Qingtong. He only wished to be able to walk side by side with her in this lifetime. He did not wish to be left behind by her. Then he would not let down this life and this heart of his. Looking at the young crown prince's back, Yu Qingwei's eyes were filled with sadness. I didn't expect you to be the evil Dr. Ghost Eye. She looked at the gorgeous young woman across from her and chuckled softly. I didn't lose unjustly. A woman who could make the Blackfield's underworld revered fall in love with, no wonder that person would place her in his heart. Yu Qingwei looked at Luo Qingtong with a tearful smile. But even if I lost to you now, that doesn't mean I'll always lose. Luo Qingtong, I'll definitely work hard to catch up to you. I'll be waiting for you at the gathering in 3 months. She would definitely catch up to her and tell that person that she was not worse than the evil Dr. Ghost Eye. He could look at her one more time, even if it was just one more time. All right. Luo Qingtong did not know that Yu Qingwei's words had a deeper meaning. She looked at the elegant young woman in front of her and gently nodded. Yu Qingwei was a rare opponent that she liked. The other party's heart was strong, and her temperament was calm. She did not give up or become jealous when facing setbacks, and only worked hard to improve herself. Chapter 1168. After Yu Qingwei and Ma Chenyi left, only Yuan Hu, Su Xiaoxiao, Sima Ju, Ling Tianhan, Ling Yu, Ling Tianchen, and Chu Wenhao were left. The other members of the Heavenly Demon Group were not here. Luo Qingtong's departure was not made public. Only those close to her knew about it. As for the others, if they found out, then they found out. If they didn't, then they didn't. It wasn't worth much attention. The reason why Luo Qingtong established the Heavenly Demon Group in the Empire of Qin was to fight against the Dragon Group, and also to protect Yuan Hu and the others from being bullied. Luo Qingtong never liked living under someone else's roof. In her opinion, there was nothing more reliable than her own power and influence. Even if Ma Chenyi helped her, she never thought of going to the Gue Yuan Group. Reality proved that she was right. If she had brought Yuan Hu and the others to the Gue Yuan Group, who knows how many people would have laughed at them. Even the members of the Gue Yuan clique looked down on them. Of course, in the end, Luo Qingtong slapped them all in the face. And now, the Heavenly Demon Group was the foundation for Yuan Hu and the others to settle down in the Heavenly Palace of the Empire of Qin. Luo Qingtong left them a large amount of cultivation resources. As long as Yuan Hu and the others weren't stupid, they would know how to make good use of it. Now that Imo Chenxian was dead, the Heavenly Palace's dragon group was disbanded. In the Heavenly Palace of the Empire of Qin, the Gui Yuan group, Qingwei group, and the Heavenly Demon group were the strongest. As long as Yuan Hu and the others made good use of the cultivation resources she left behind, even if she wasn't in the Heavenly Palace of the Empire of Qin, no one would be able to bully them. Boss. Yuan Hu and the others watched as Luo Qingtong took the cultivation resources she extorted from the Grand Dean. They wanted to say something but stopped. Luo Qingtong looked at them. What's wrong? Nothing. Yuan Hu and the others shook their heads and said nothing. Even Yuan Hu, who was always quick on his feet, was the same. They actually wanted to ask Luo Qingtong if she could take them there. Then, when they thought of their own abilities and where Luo Qingtong was going, they were all dumbfounded. The Western Wilderness was outside of the Empire of Qin. It was already out of the East. In the Great Qin Sacred Dynasty, the few of them were still small fries. Not to mention a place like the Western Wilderness. If he went with Luo Qingtong, he might only be a burden to the other party. They might as well stay in the Academy of the Empire of Qin Academy and improve their strength. Because it was. Only by increasing his strength would he be able to keep up with boss's pace. Otherwise, they would be left behind by Luo Qingtong in the future. They thought of what Luo Qingtong had said to them before, "Don't be left behind by me. I won't wait for you." They didn't have any extravagant hopes or ideas. They would wait for Luo Qingtong in the Academy of the Empire of Qin. They would wait for her to come back and participate in that grand event. Then, they would enter that mysterious place with her. They absolutely didn't want to be left behind by Luo Qingtong. The separation at this moment was to make it easier for them to meet and follow each other in the future. Thinking of this, they all fell silent. Chapter 1169. Luo Qingtong nods and looks at them. Work hard. I've prepared many kinds of fake soul seals for you. As long as you're willing to work hard, talent will never be an obstacle to your strength. But no matter how good your talent is, you still need enough strength to support it. Otherwise, you won't be able to display its power. So, work hard. I hope that when I come back, I'll be able to see your improvement. Don't let me down. Yes. Boss, don't worry. Yuan Hu and the others look at Luo Qingtong, then clench their teeth and leave one by one. Even Su Xiaoxiao, although looking at Luo Qingtong with tears in her eyes, reluctantly leaves in the end. She said that she wanted to be boss' personal combat pharmacist, so she must not be left behind. She must not. After the group of people have all left, Luo Qingtong looks up at the sky not far away and asks in a deep voice, "Where's your master?" After that man checked her body to make sure there was no problem, he disappeared without a trace. Where did he go? Replying to the evil doctor, "Master, he." Feng Yu's figure appears in midair. He doesn't know why Luo Qingtong can accurately find their presence every time. If they didn't know that Luo Qingtong's strength is indeed weaker than theirs, they would have thought that the other party's strength is stronger than theirs. That's why she can see their figure and aura at a glance. Thinking back to when they were in the Blackfield subsidy, they sent people to monitor Luo Qingtong and thought that they weren't discovered, they were simply drunk. How long has the evil doctor been lying to them? Feng Yu's heart is stifled as he thinks about it. Just as he is about to answer Luo Qingtong's question, all of a sudden, a figure appeared behind the girl. This venerable is here. Yi Qianxian's figure appears and takes Luo Qingtong's figure into his arms. Miss this venerable? Under the dark gold mask, the man's eyebrows raise slightly. Yes. I miss you. Luo Qingtong was not pretentious and admitted it directly. She was already used to having Yi Qianxian by her side. She felt strange after not seeing him for a few days. Luo Qingtong also knew that she was wrong. If it was her previous life, such a habit could easily become a fatal danger, and she would be used and betrayed by others. But when it came to this man, she didn't feel any fear or danger at all. It was because the man by her side would never become a burden or a threat to her. Instead, he was her strongest backing. This man was simply too treacherous. He used this method to invade her heart step by step. However, Luo Qingtong had to admit that Yi Qianxian's approach was just right. If he was too tough, she would sense danger and run away. If she was too weak, she would feel that this man was no challenge to her. Only Yi Qianxian, who was both tough and gentle, accompanied and waited for her, could make her unknowingly fall for him. There's simply no way to resist this kind of waiting and warmth. Luo Qingtong depressingly buries her head into the man's arms and hugs his thin and strong waist tightly. Yi Qianxian originally just asked casually. He didn't expect Luo Qingtong to actually admit it. That pair of deep and cold eyes instantly burst forth with a myriad of rays of light. Chapter 1170. That laughter was low and pleasant, mixed with indescribable joy. This sovereign also missed you, he said word by word. This woman was slowly opening her heart to him, revealing her softness to him. When he thought of this, Yi Qianxian's heart was filled with indescribable joy. His voice was low and hoarse, making one's ears tingle. When Luo Qingtong heard this, she felt as if someone had electrocuted her. Strange, her ears trembled slightly, inexplicably feeling a little hot. She raised her hand to touch her earlobes, feeling that this feeling was very strange. When she heard this man speak before, why didn't she feel this way? Luo Qingtong was stunned. At this moment, Yi Qianxian's voice sounded again. I've returned to the Black Field these few days. Qingtong, I'll be leaving in a few days to go to the Outer Realms. Luo Qingtong already knew about what happened over there, so Yi Qianxian didn't deliberately hide it from her. He looked at the young girl in his arms, and the scene when he returned to the Black Field surfaced in his mind. Yes, the strength of your meridians has indeed recovered to 1/10 of their previous strength. That Qingtong girl indeed has the power to heal the drawbacks of your heavenly veins constitution. After Elder Yu checked the situation in Yi Qianxian's body, he immediately came to this conclusion. He clicked his tongue in amazement. He did not expect that after thinking of so many methods, he was unable to alleviate Yi Qianren's situation at all. Luo Qingtong actually managed to repair close to 10% of his meridians. However, the strength of this power was slowly decreasing. It was very clear that Luo Qingtong's recovery was only temporary. The strength of Yi Qianxian's meridians would still weaken as time passed. It's a pity that that girl's strength isn't strong enough. Otherwise, she could directly heal all the strength of your meridians and see if they would weaken again. Of course, if we can find the source of her energy, we might be able to completely cure your heavenly vein constitution. Before Elder Yu could finish, Yi Qianxian's cold voice rang out, "Don't touch her." Yi Qianxian's eyes were cold. The light within it was extremely cold. Got it? Elder Yu glanced at him unhappily. Sigh, it's a pity that you've taken a liking to that girl. Otherwise, I would have captured her and used some extreme methods to investigate the source of her energy. I wonder if that girl's blood and flesh would be of any use to your heavenly veins physique? Sigh, sigh, sigh. Facing Yi Qianxian's sudden attack, Elder Yuelao hurriedly flipped over and dodged to the side. F***CK, you little brat, you're going to attack just because you want to? I was just saying it casually. If you don't let me touch her, who would dare to touch her? I didn't eat too much. Anyway, the illness is yours. Elder Yuelao looked at Yi Qianxian and laughed. I couldn't tell that you're actually a rare affectionate person. You're so protective of that girl. I really don't know how those people who know you would be taken aback if this matter were to spread to Tiandu. Especially those people who threw themselves at you, I don't know how they're going to cry in hell. The man that they tried every means to obtain, who disdained them, had a soft spot for a little girl that they couldn't handle. Who knew how many people would be angered to death if this were to spread? Chapter 1171. How could they understand Luo Qingtong's goodness? Everyone thought that he was protecting Luo Qingtong. Otherwise, who knew what state she would fall to? But they didn't know that the girl's ability was extraordinary. She was willing to give him a chance to protect her, so he could get what he wanted. Otherwise, the other party would have run away in minutes without a trace. The world was so big, and only such a woman he didn't dare to say he could catch. These people didn't know Luo Qingtong's goodness at all. They didn't know what kind of potential and brilliance the girl had. She was willing to give him a chance to protect her, willing to believe him, so she exposed her secret in front of him. Elder Yuelao thought that he could slaughter her at will, but he didn't know who would be the one to be slaughtered when they really faced each other. Yi Qianxian was too lazy to explain to them. When that woman grew up and walked side by side with him, these people would know how wrong they were. He picked up a rare pearl, and when it was covered in dust, he carefully wiped it, brushed away the dust, and sheltered it from the wind and rain. In the end, it bloomed with dazzling brilliance, but it was not because of his hard work and care. It was because of its original brilliance. Luo Qingtong was that bright pearl to him. He waited for the day when her brilliance bloomed and shocked the world. No one, no matter what, could hurt this pearl in his palm. Yi Qianxian was willing to wait for Luo Qingtong to grow up and cure the drawbacks in his body. If there was no one to walk with him in the 3,000 great Daos, even if he could live for a long time, what was the point? But since you don't want to touch that girl, then we can only think of other ways. Before, we found a lot of ways to prolong your life. You were so proud and arrogant that you didn't want to try if you couldn't completely cure the drawbacks in your body. You'd rather end your life at 28 years old. Now you can at least try, right? Otherwise, you might not be able to hold on until that girl grows up. After all, your strength is really too abnormal. Elder Yuelao thought so, muttering in his heart. They didn't know what this brat Yi was thinking. In the past, they had found many ways to extend his life beyond the age of 28. But this kid couldn't find a way to heal his meridians, so he wasn't willing to try. Now he was finally willing, right? Of course. Yi Qianxian's voice was cold. He had said that he would wait for Luo Qingtong to cure him, so he would definitely wait. In the past, he felt that there was no meaning in living like this. Instead of dragging a body that could die at any time, it was better to let nature take its course. But now that he had Luo Qingtong, even if it was to protect her in the future, he would never allow himself to die like this. He was willing to work hard to live for her. Yi Qianxian looked deeply at the girl in his arms and said in a low voice, "I may be away for a long time. At that time, try not to find me through the 10 Directions Dragon Ring and the 9 Nether Phoenix Ring." The place he was going to was too dangerous, and it was difficult for him to take care of her spiritual body. Okay. Luo Qingtong was slightly stunned when she heard that Yi Qianxian was going to leave. Then she nodded and said, "I'll wait for you to come back." Luo Qingtong didn't ask Yi Qianxian what he was going to do in the outer realm. He always had his reasons for leaving. Chapter 1172. Everything else was useless. And what Luo Qingtong hated the most was useless work. If she wanted this man, she had to have the strength to match him. At that time, she would destroy the heavens if anyone dared to stop her from being together with him. Let's see who would dare to stop her. But right now, her strength was far from enough. Luo Qingtong didn't stay long in the Holy Academy of the Empire of Qin. After dealing with all the matters at hand, she prepared to leave. Before leaving, she went to the Soul Institute with Yi Qianxian to test her soul imprint talent. However, the results were out of everyone's expectations. How is this possible? The Grand Supreme Dean looked at the light emitted by the Soul Institute's testing stone in shock. Pure white? This is rank 0? Luo Qingtong's soul imprint talent was actually rank 0? Didn't that mean that her soul imprint was the trashiest type? There was almost no room for improvement. Instantly, everyone present was a little dumbfounded. Especially Su Xiaoxiao and the rest. In their eyes, Luo Qingtong was almost omnipotent. How could her soul imprint talent be so low? This was really out of everyone's expectations. One had to know that even Yuanhu's trashiest soul imprint was close to rank 10. Luo Qingtong's soul imprint was really too low. It meant that it was almost impossible for her to become a soul master. Even if she became a soul master, there was no room for improvement. This was really out of everyone's expectations. It's fine. The Grand Supreme Dean laughed dryly and said, "It's fine even if she can't become a soul master. Being a martial artist is also pretty good." But everyone knew that a martial artist's strength could never be compared to a soul master's. The further one progressed, the more obvious this difference in strength became. When a soul master attacked, he could rely on his own soul imprint's attribute to display different effects of attack and defense. It had a huge boost to his strength. This was something that martial artists couldn't compare to. In the early stages, a martial artist could still contend with a soul master. However, once a soul master's soul seal was completely awakened and they entered the martial emperor realm, they would be able to communicate with the power of heaven and earth. Luo Qingtong's talent as a soul master was so low that it would inevitably affect her strength and combat strength in the future. Unknowingly, they would fall behind soul masters of the same rank. How could this be? Su Xiaoxiao and the others were anxious. Although they comforted themselves that with the false soul seal, Luo Qingtong's future strength would not be affected too much. However, the drawing of the fake soul seal was also based on the improvement of Luo Qingtong's strength. If Luo Qingtong's strength was not good enough, in the future, it would be impossible for the drawing of the fake soul seal to surpass her level. Thinking of this, everyone suddenly felt very sad. Such a powerful boss, how could her soul seal talent be so low? He didn't know if her heart would be able to take it. After all, Boss had always been a top genius, a monstrous genius. Now that her soul seal talent was suddenly so low, he didn't know if her mood would be affected. In reality, Luo Qingtong wasn't affected at all. She looked at the testing stone in the middle of the Soul Institute's testing hall with a bit of astonishment. Was it her misperception? She clearly felt that after she poured her spiritual power into it, the light inside soared. Chapter 1173. What was going on? Luo Qingtong blinked her eyes. Her ocular sorcery ability was definitely not trash. In her previous life, she was the supreme ocular sorcerer of the 24th century. After coming to this strange world, her ocular sorcery ability had never disappointed her. So, was there a problem with the testing stone? It could not test the talent level of her ocular sorcery ability? If that was the case, then it could explain why the light she felt soar in the beginning, but when it finally exploded in front of everyone, it was a pure white level. Luo Qingtong found it funny when she thought of this. She did not think that she would be trash like this. But this was good too. The tallest tree in the forest would be destroyed by the wind and rain. Luo Qingtong liked to see those who were arrogant in front of her, but in the end, they were ruthlessly slapped in the face. She did not care much about the results of this test. At this moment, Yi Qianxian held her hands. "It's okay, my talent level is also 0. As he spoke, he suddenly took a step forward, raised his hand, and pressed on the testing stone. After a short moment of silence, the testing stone suddenly emitted a white light with a boom. It was just as Yi Qianxian said, his talent level was also 0. The Grand Supreme Dean and the others were almost stunned when they saw this. Holy shit! F***CK, this is definitely a fantasy. How powerful was Ming Zun? His soul seal talent was actually 0. Everyone was dumbfounded. Only Beiqing and Feng Yu remained calm from the start to the end. Master had the heavenly pulse body. No matter what kind of talent he had, he was an existence that was off the charts, okay? This testing stone could only test a normal talent. How could it estimate the level of a talent like Master's? It must be the same for the demonic physician. That was why it showed a pure white level of 0 talent. After all, they had all followed Yi Qianxian for a long time, and they all knew how powerful the other party was. Looking at the white light that Yi Qianxian had produced, the Grand Supreme Dean suddenly took a step forward and tested his soul seal talent. After confirming that the testing stone was normal, he looked at Luo Qingtong and Yi Qianxian in disbelief. Mother f***er. These two people were simply two weirdos. He had prepared a long string of comforting words for Luo Qingtong, but they were all useless now. Even someone as powerful as Underworld Venerable had 0 soul imprint talent. Who could guarantee that Luo Qingtong wasn't as abnormal as Ming Zun? The group of people instantly felt gratified. Even Su Xiaoxiao and the others were the same. Looking at their expressions, Luo Qingtong's lips curled up slightly as she looked at the man beside her. Was this man trying to comfort her? Luo Qingtong's eyes curved as she held Yi Qianxian's hand tightly. The man's large palm was so thick that it almost covered her entire hand. Just like every time he stood in front of her, Luo Qingtong felt an indescribable warmth in her heart. What to do? She was more and more reluctant to part with this man. She was also more and more reluctant to let go of this man. Yi Qianxian, you forced your way into my heart step by step. Do you know what the result will be? You will be entangled with me until death, and you will never be able to withdraw. Luo Qingtong's temperament was evil and unrestrained. Once she decided to open her heart to someone, that person would never have any room to retreat. If he loved her, he would live. If he didn't, he would die. There was nothing in her world except black and white. Chapter 1174. Yi Qianxian left right after Luo Qingtong finished testing her soul imprint. Bei Qing and Feng Yu also left with him. Luo Qingtong stood there watching their departing figures. When she turned around, her eyes were incomparably sharp. Let's go! She must improve her strength as soon as possible, so that she can better stand by that man's side. Luo Qingtong's figure swept towards the direction of the far west wilderness. She had just walked forward for a short distance, and before she could release her spirit ship, a figure appeared in front of her in an instant, causing her to raise her eyebrows slightly. Elder sister, this really has nothing to do with me. In front, Yu Xingqi's small face was bitter as he came out from behind a tree. Beside her, there was a very evildoer Yu Sihuang in purple clothes. The mole at the corner of the man's eye looked like it was dripping blood. Paired with that feminine and handsome face, it was very enchanting and strange. But his temperament didn't make people think that he was a woman. At this moment, he was standing beside Yu Xingqi. He chuckled and nodded towards Luo Qingtong, saying, Yu Sihuang. Miss Qingtong, or should I say Evil Dr. Ghost Eye, I've been looking forward to meeting you for a long time no see. Yu Sihuang's words were very contradictory. But Luo Qingtong understood his meaning at once. Looking forward to meeting you for a long time was because of Evil Dr. Ghost Eye's reputation. Not seeing him for a long time was because she saved him last time. Luo Qingtong raised her eyebrows and looked at him. At the side, Yu Xingqi's small face was wrinkled. Elder sister, this matter really has nothing to do with me. I swear I didn't inform him, he came to find us himself. He even used Du to threaten me, bad brother. Yu Xingqi pouted his mouth at the side, looking very unhappy. She originally didn't want to bring Yu Sihuang to find Luo Qingtong. Originally, when Luo Qingtong left, she was going to secretly get rid of him and leave with Luo Qingtong, heading towards the far west wilderness. Who would have thought that he would see the clues from his actions and threaten her with Du? Following Yu Xingqi's words, Luo Qingtong's gaze fell on Yu Sihuang's bosom. There was indeed a small white ball in the latter's purple robes that was rising and falling. What did you say? Don't slander me for no reason. Yu Sihuang unhappily looked at his unreliable younger sister. That fat cat of yours followed me of its own accord. As he spoke, he shook out the fur ball in his arms. The chubby white cat was holding 2 small dried fish in its mouth. When it saw Yu Xingqi at the side, it fiercely used its small claws to pull and put away the 2 small dried fish. He had an appearance of being afraid that Yu Xingqi would confiscate it. Yu Xingqi's voice almost broke through the horizon. This greedy cat. 2 dried fish were enough to buy it over. Was it worthy of him? Luo Qingtong looked at this pair of brother and sister who were getting along with each other very strangely. The corner of her mouth slightly pulled, then she carried the little pig and prepared to leave. On her shoulder, the little golden mouse also curiously tilted its head and looked at Yu Xingqi and Yu Sihuang. Its eyes were somewhat restless. It really wanted to jump on their bodies and grab something, but in the end, it gave up. And it's better to hold on to its big treasure. A big treasure is better than any other treasure. The little golden mouse used its small claws to tightly grab a strand of Luo Qingtong's hair. Wait a minute. Chapter 1175. He raised his hand to stop Luo Qingtong, but the girl quickly dodged. Then she raised her hand, and a wind and lightning sword instantly swept out. The sword tip stopped in front of Yu Sihuang's body. Keizhong Point. A bloody light flashed in Luo Qingtong's eyes. When it flashed, she spat out these 3 words coldly. Instantly, Yu Sihuang's face slightly changed. What Luo Qingtong said was the flaw in his current posture. The girl pulled him out from the brink of death and cured his heart disease. Yu Sihuang didn't think that what she said was just a coincidence. Clearly, the girl in front of him was only a martial emperor, but Yu Sihuang had a feeling that even if he tried his best, he might not be able to make her stay. He finally knew the rumor that the Blackfield's Ming Zun, in order to find the whereabouts of the evil Dr. Ghost Eye, spent a lot of effort and almost couldn't get it. Thinking about how when she was a martial emperor, she used the heavenly lightning to kill a martial sage in front of him, the corner of Yu Sihuang's mouth twitched, and he took a step back. I don't have any evil intentions. His face was helpless. I heard that you want to go to the far west wilderness? Is it for the Saint King's tomb? He raised his hand and gently touched the tear mole at the corner of his eye. Coincidentally, I also have a map of the Saint King's tomb. Let's go together? Luo Qingtong narrowed her eyes and looked at him. Yu Xingqi at the side quickly raised his hand and said, Sister, he indeed has a map of the Saint King's tomb. It is said that the Saint King's tomb maps will sense each other when they are close. If you bring us along when we reach the far west wilderness, we can take care of each other. My brother can definitely be used as an evil-repelling weapon. If you meet someone looking for trouble, you can also let him go. Free labor and bodyguards, it's a waste not to take it. Sister. Anyway, even if you don't let him follow, he will still go to the far west wilderness. When Yu Xingqi said this, Yu Sihuang's face instantly turned green. His demonic and evil sect master image. His domineering and evil overlord image of the 3 islands and 7 lands. Fuck, this Yu Xingqi was really born by his parents to trick him, right? However, after Luo Qingtong heard Yu Xingqi's words, she nodded and agreed. In any case, the map of the sage monarch's tomb in her hand was only a fragment. Since the other party had the map of the sage monarch's tomb, they would definitely encounter each other in the future. Since that was the case, it was not impossible to travel together. Furthermore, Luo Qingtong's lips slightly raised and said to Yu Sihuang, take out your map fragment. All right. Thinking that Luo Qingtong wanted to confirm the authenticity of the map fragments, Yu Sihuang straightforwardly took out the map of Saint Monarch's tomb. Luo Qingtong took out her 2 maps of the Saint Monarch's tomb and compared them with Yu Sihuang's map. Soon, the 3 maps overlapped, immediately revealing many hidden mechanisms and corresponding room locations that had not been revealed in the previous maps. Luo Qingtong's eyes turned slightly, the blood in them surging. Soon, she activated her eye technique, and the overlapped map was imprinted in her eyes. All right. She put away her 2 maps of the Saint Monarch's tomb. Her eyes slightly narrowed, and the map diagram in her eyes deepened. It was a pity that the energy contained in these maps was too great. Chapter 1176. After Luo Qingtong entered the martial emperor realm, she opened another powerful eye technique, restoration. Previously, when she was treating Yi Qianxian's meridians, she used it to restore his meridians to their peak condition. Unfortunately, she did not succeed in the end. Relying on this skill, Luo Qingtong was a rare antique master in the 24th century. She restored a lot of antiques. At the same time, her forgery skills were unparalleled. However, Luo Qingtong disdained to do this kind of thing. Anyway, it was not difficult for her to get real antiques. Why would she want to forge them? Because of this, Luo Qingtong and several international underworld organizations had quarreled several times. The other party wanted Luo Qingtong's ability very much, but in the end, they failed to catch her and were attacked instead. Luo Qingtong destroyed their nest and sent them to hell to forge the antiques. After memorizing the 3 overlapped maps, Luo Qingtong agreed to go with Yu Sihuang. As long as the other party did not play any tricks, she naturally would not do anything. But if the other party had some ideas, such as using the map to threaten and coerce her. Then Luo Qingtong would definitely not hesitate to kick the other party away. Anyway, she had already memorized the overlapped maps of the other party and her own 2 maps. For Luo Qingtong, she would never give anyone the opportunity to threaten her. She only likes to strangle the threat in the cradle. Yu Huang joined Luo Qingtong's team just like that. Yu Xingqi looked at Luo Qingtong's agreement. His heart suddenly felt relieved. My unreliable big brother almost ruined my chance to follow my sister. Otherwise, I would not help him to plead. It was because he was afraid that after Luo Qingtong drove him away, she would also drive him away. However, Yu Xingqi just wanted to stick to Luo Qingtong. The other party's ability was so strong, and he was also domineering. How good would it be to follow him? She didn't want to be with her annoying brother. Moreover, if she didn't stay by her sister's side, Yu Huang, that scoundrel, would capture her back. She didn't want that. As for Yu Huang, although he looked at Yu Xingqi, his face turned green. But in view of the fact that she could speak up for him in front of Luo Qingtong, he didn't force her to leave. Otherwise, he would have sent someone to bring her back to the imperial sect after joining Luo Qingtong's team. Other than setting him up, what else could this sister of his do? Yu Huang looked at Yu Xingqi with a headache. After the addition of this strange pair of siblings, Luo Qingtong's team became 3 people, 1 mouse, 1 pig, and 1 cat. Luo Qingtong's lips twitched inexplicably as she looked at the string of pets. Squeak squeak. After the white cat joined the team, the little golden mouse ran into Luo Qingtong's lapel, leaving only a small round and furry head, looking at the white cat. The latter coldly snorted, glanced at it and ignored it, only focusing on eating her own dried fish. Meow. How could a mouse taste better than dried fish? This mouse was afraid that it would eat it? This was simply a joke. Looking at the white cat who was eating the dried fish, the little golden mouse's heart was very doubtful. As a mouse, it had never been despised by a human. No, a cat like this, it was simply tearing up. The group of people and pets embarked on the journey to the far west wilderness. When he left, Yu Huang deliberately released his magnificent spirit boat airship. Chapter 1177. After Luo Qingtong saw the style of his spirit ship, she decisively turned around and boarded her own spirit ship. Yu Huang was left behind looking at his specially made-up spirit boat flying ship with a gloomy face. Isn't this spirit ship beautiful? He looked at Yu Xingqi beside him. The latter's lips twitched. Beautiful. Too beautiful. Brother, you can sit by yourself. I'm going to sister. That red and green color, that wantonly fluttering in the wind, that rose petals flying all over the sky. That's right, there was also that fragrance that drifted thousands of miles away. Especially that spirit ship was specially designed to look like a luxurious carriage. It was simply showy to the extreme. Yu Xingqi felt that don't even mention Luo Qingtong, even she felt ashamed to sit on it, okay? She rolled her eyes at her brother, then turned around and chased after Luo Qingtong. Sister, wait for me. After Yu Huang finished listening to her words, he looked at the beautiful and flirtatious flying boat and his face turned green. Luoli, you're dead if you go back. He gritted his teeth and said, damn it. He asked him to inquire about evil Dr. Gui Tong's preferences. He told him that the other party would definitely like this kind of gorgeous style. The more flirtatious and gorgeous, the better. And the result? If the other party was here, Yu Huang would choke him to death. And somewhere unknown, a certain person who was being nagged by his own sect master sneezed several times. Achoo achoo. Strange, the weather isn't cold. Why did he suddenly sneeze so many times? Luo Li's face was strange. But very quickly he became happy again. Sect Master went to see evil Dr. Gui Tong today. The plan he proposed would definitely win the favor of the evil doctor. This was the information he got from Ming Zun's protector. It was absolutely reliable. At that time, he didn't know how the sect master would reward him. Thinking of this, he felt happy. On the way to the outer realm with Yi Qianxian, Bei Qing whispered to Feng Yu, last time, that person from Imperial Sect was eavesdropping. Why didn't you seize the chance to catch him and deliberately said some nonsense? You even deliberately twisted the preferences of the evil doctor? That person is a trusted aide of the imperial sect master. Both sides are not prepared to go to war. Even if we capture him, won't we still have to throw him out and let him go? I told him that on purpose. If he told you Si Huang, that would be fun. Feng Yu chuckled as he spoke. He said it according to the taste of the most gaudy dancer. At that time, if Yu Si Huang really found the demonic doctor, he would be in big trouble. He looked so devilish and evil, and his hobbies were so gaudy and strange. The evil doctor might take him for a sissy. Thinking of this, Feng Yu suddenly burst into laughter. In front of the two of them, Yi Qianren, who had completely heard their whispers, curled her lips slightly. Well done. He had forgotten about Yu Si Huang, that troublesome person. Yi Qianxian's eyes darkened when he realized that the other party had actually dared to covet his treasures. Let's speed up and return as soon as we get what we need. He suddenly felt uneasy about leaving Luo Qingtong alone in the true Spill continent. As Yi Qianxian and the others were rushing to the outer realm, Luo Qingtong, Yu Xingqi, and Yu Si Huang also arrived at the Western Wilderness half a month later. Western Wilderness, Windflower City. In a restaurant at the city gate, Luo Qingtong and the others appeared in the lobby. Why did I dress up like this? Chapter 1178. His hair was adorned with pearls, his hair was swaying, his face was like Shizi, his lips were red, and his eyebrows were extremely enchanting. Even if his face was full of resentment, he still looked like a sick Shizi, so beautiful that it made people intoxicated. What's more, Yu Si Huang's face was extremely enchanting, and when he dressed up as a woman, his lethality was even greater. In an instant, since the three people entered the restaurant, those pig eyes and drooling eyes staring at Yu Si Huang never stopped. Instead, as the three people entered, they became more and more passionate and more explicit. Of course it's because you attract too much attention. Hugging the little white cat, the little lowly who was bouncing beside Luo Qingtong said, Yu Xingqi poked Yu Si Huang's heart without hesitation. You don't know how many people you have provoked since we entered the territory of the far west wilderness and got off the flying ship. It seriously delayed our journey. Yu Si Huang gritted his teeth and looked at his little sister who was cheating her brother. Then I'm not attracting any more attention, he said and waved his hand. In an instant, the beauty's sleeves fluttered, and a violent force blasted out from it. Instantly, a drooling pig-faced wretched man who wanted to come up and hit on her flew out. In an instant, the restaurant became silent. Everyone looked at this beauty who was obviously not to be trifled with, and in an instant, they all shrunk their heads and withdrew their gazes. Yu Xingqi followed beside Luo Qingtong who was dressed up as a man. He made a face at Yu Si Huang and continued to provoke him without fear of death. That's because before you changed your clothes, not only men, you even provoked women, okay? Those love-struck fools are simply unreasonable. They can't be beaten away. If you don't dress up as a woman, who will? On the way here, there are fewer people looking for trouble, don't you know? She said and rolled her eyes at Yu Si Huang. The little white cat in her arms looked at her master's action and also rolled her eyes at Yu Si Huang. Looking at this master and pet who were asking for a beating, the veins on Yu Si Huang's forehead bulged. He felt that he was able to endure until now and not choke Yu Xingqi to death. He really broke through his limit. She was definitely a sister that he had picked up from the streets. Just when the blue veins on Yu Si Huang's forehead were about to explode, Yu Xingqi's eyes turned, approaching Luo Qingtong and asked, Sister, what are we doing here? Shouldn't we go to the first city in the center of the far west wilderness, the Savage City? The Saint King's tomb was not far from the Wild City. The Savage City was the most prosperous and bustling place in the far west wasteland. It was the most developed area in the far west wilderness. Most of the families and forces that had come to the far west desolate region were gathered there. That place was known as the #1 city in the far west wilderness. Yu Xingqi and Yu Si Huang originally thought that Luo Qingtong would directly go to the Wild City, but they didn't expect that after she entered the far west desolate region, she would turn around and come here. I need to stay here for a while. Luo Qingtong was dressed in black, dressed as an inconspicuous man. The aura and demonic aura around her body were covered by the Qiongqi 100 transformations on her body. At this moment, Luo Qingtong didn't look any different from the other pioneers who came to the far west wilderness. Only Yu Xingqi and Yu Sihuang, who were beside her, looked like two young ladies from some big family who ran out to play. Chapter 1179. Luo Qingtong's gaze swept over his charming and enchanting female attire. In an instant, the corner of her mouth twitched fiercely and she raised her hand to support her forehead. It was obvious that Yu Sihuang himself did not have a trace of seductive manner. His actions and sitting posture were very proper. But he couldn't resist the other party's face, which was simply too monstrous. Just a casual raise of her eyebrows or a glance was enough to give off a seductive feeling. This kind of vixen déjà vu. That's amazing. Luo Qingtong looked at him, the corners of her mouth twitching. If she had known that this fellow was so attractive, she would never have agreed to go with him. The three of them sat down in a private room in the restaurant. Luo Qingtong sat by the window. Her slender fingers gently held the white wine cup and gently swayed it. She looked down at the busy street below. Fenghua City. Su Yu and the others had sent a message saying that they were in this city. Fenghua City wasn't considered a high-level city among the developed cities in Savage City, but it wasn't low either. Without a certain level of strength, it was impossible to enter. The wilderness of the far west wilderness was extremely dangerous. This was the wasteland of the various large families and forces. It was different from the mountain barren areas in the eastern region. The demonic beasts here were even more ferocious. It was natural selection. And even more powerful. The mountain ranges in the eastern domain were all close to the cities. Powerful demonic beasts wouldn't live there. However, the depths of the far west wasteland was a paradise for powerful demonic beasts. The night of the far west desolate region was the hunting ground for demonic beasts. All kinds of violent demon beasts. Without the protection and defense of the city, ordinary martial artists would not be able to withstand the hunting of the demonic beasts. Luo Qingtong's eyes scanned the streets. She hadn't seen Su Yu and the others in a long time. The same went for the Luo clan's Iron Army and the Heavenly Demon Group. He wondered how they were doing now. The news they sent back was good. However, in a place like the far western wastelands, one would have to endure a lot of pain and suffering in order to make a name for oneself. Luo Qingtong came this time to see them. At the same time, he could also increase their strength. If it was suitable, he would see if he could bring them along to the Saint Monarch's tomb to search for opportunities. Therefore, Luo Qingtong deliberately took a detour and didn't go directly to Wild City. Instead, she made a trip to Fenghua City first. Luo Qingtong, Yu Sihuang and Yu Xingqi ate together. Because of Yu Sihuang's violent actions, which directly sent people flying. Until the three of them finished their meal, they didn't encounter anyone who came to provoke them. However, after they left the restaurant, someone quietly followed them. The veins on Luo Qingtong's forehead throbbed, and he directly bought a gauze hat and placed it on Yu Sihuang's head. If you dare to take it down, then scram with them. Also, take care of them. Luo Qingtong gritted her teeth and looked at him. The latter's face turned green. I got it. In fact, Yu Sihuang himself couldn't take it anymore. As the future overlord of the southern region's 3 islands and 7 lands, the sect master of the imperial sect, he grew up surrounded by people. When had he ever been coveted like this? The way those people looked at him was simply too disgusting. Yu Sihuang's face turned green. He directly put on the gauze hat and clenched his fists, walking towards those people hiding in the dark. Luo Qingtong and Yu Xingqi continued to walk forward. Chapter 1180. A voice drifted into Luo Qingtong's ears from not far away. Tiske, heavenly diabolism is in trouble this time. That's right. At the same time, another voice was heard. I heard that the Cheng family has invited a very powerful big shot to teach the heavenly diabolism a lesson. He's playing with the heavenly diabolism in the dark color arena. That's right. The Qing family is determined to deal with the heavenly diabolism this time. They must have spent a lot of money to invite that big shot. But I don't know why they have such a deep hatred for the heavenly diabolism. I heard that the Qing family was involved in the extermination of the deputy leader of the heavenly diabolism, Su Yu's family. And Su Yu's master seems to have robbed something from the Qing family. In short, the hatred between the two sides is irreconcilable. However, what the Qing clan did this time is really too vicious. I heard that they found the remaining members of the Su Yu's family and released them. They are playing with the heavenly diabolism Su Yu in the dark color arena like playing with a dog. At the corner of the street, a group of 3 people was talking as they turned the corner. However, just as they appeared at the corner of the street, a figure suddenly appeared beside them. Luo Qingtong raised her hand and hooked the person who was talking the most enthusiastically to her. What are you doing? The person who was talking enthusiastically wanted to resist the moment Luo Qingtong hooked him. However, before he could do anything, he instantly felt his limbs and bones losing strength. He could not exert any strength at all. In an instant, his expression turned to one of extreme horror. He was so frightened that his legs almost turned to jelly. Nothing, I just found what you said interesting, so I wanted to ask you where the dark color arena is? Luo Qingtong looked at his horrified eyes and patted his shoulder with a smile. However, the smile in her eyes was so cold that it did not enter her eyes at all. The Qing family? A big shot? Luo Qingtong chuckled. The smile on his lips became more and more evil. The other party really had no memory at all. After suffering such a huge loss last time, they still dared to cause trouble for Su Yu and the others twice in a row. Did he think that in the far west wilderness, the emperor was too far away, and he couldn't care less about Su Yu and the others? As Luo Qingtong thought about it, the smile on her lips became brighter and brighter. Ever since she entered the city, she hadn't received any warning from Su Yu. So, which big shot had blocked Su Yu's warning? He didn't want their news to spread and let her know? Interesting. She was going to meet them now. The smile in Luo Qingtong's eyes was cold. She raised her hand and patted the person who seemed to have stiffened all over. Bring me to the dark arena. I will reward you. Too lazy to ask him again, Luo Qingtong let him lead the way. That person was restrained by Luo Qingtong, so how could he dare to say a word? Moreover, although the other party's cultivation was not high, it was obvious that a casual pat could make him lose all his strength. He was not to be trifled with. He immediately led the way obediently. Together with his companions, he brought Luo Qingtong to the dark color arena. This is the place. Chapter 1181. Okay. Luo Qingtong nodded, then patted him on the shoulder and let him go. Reward. Before the man could react, he found that the power that had been drained from his body had returned. Not only that, but his body was also particularly light. It seemed that Luo Qingtong's pat just now had dispersed all the hidden dangers that had accumulated in his body for so many years. The man was aghast and looked at Luo Qingtong with unspeakable awe. However, when he raised his head again, Luo Qingtong's figure had disappeared. Even the figure of the little lowly dressed in a pink robe next to him had disappeared. While the man was still in a daze, Luo Qingtong and Yu Xingqi had already swept into the strange bladed building. Dark color arena? It was a bit interesting. Luo Qingtong looked at the decoration in the building that was obviously different from the bloody arena in the black field, and her lips curved slightly. It was the first time that she had seen another arena other than the black field's bloody arena. She didn't know if there was any difference between the dark color arena and the bloody arena. If there wasn't, she was afraid that she would be very disappointed. When Luo Qingtong's figure stepped into the dark color arena, somewhere in the dark color arena, Su Yu and the people of the Luo clan's Iron Army were confronting a group of people. That group of people was the Qing clan's force in the far west wilderness. The leader was an elder of the Qing clan. Looking at his strength, he was at the peak of the martial emperor realm. His aura was faintly integrated with the surrounding spiritual energy, as if he had touched the level of the martial emperor realm. At this moment, he was looking at Su Yu and the others with a sneer and said coldly, How about it? Suyu? Isn't my suggestion fair? The remaining people of your Su clan are all here. As long as you manipulate them to win the life and death battle, I'll let one of them go. How about it? The elder of the Chung clan looked at Su Yu's expression with a strange smile. He wasn't afraid that the other party wouldn't agree. Their Qing clan had invited that big shot over. No matter how powerful those strange magic tools Su Yu and the others possessed were, could they do anything to that big shot? That was an elder of a great sect in the southern mountain range. Moreover, he was a Saint Realm expert. If Su Yu and the others wanted to die, they could just snatch him away. Let's see how they die then. The elder of the Chung family looked very cold, watching Su Yu's expression as if he was waiting for a good show. He was waiting to play this little bastard to death. Relying on the power of evil Dr. Ghost Eye, he actually dared to make a move against the Chung family. It was a pity that his entire family had been wiped out, and he was a bastard born as a slave. Evil Dr. Ghost Eye didn't even bother to pay attention to him. She wasn't even willing to avenge him. He even sent him to an extremely dangerous place like the Western Wasteland. When the people of the Chung clan first offended Luo Qingtong, they were terrified for a while. Later, when they found that Luo Qingtong didn't have any intention of avenging Su Yu, they became bolder. They thought that Luo Qingtong disdained to stand up for a slave. The reason why she dealt with them before was that they had offended her by coming to snatch Su Yu away. It was a slap to her face, so she acted. Chapter 1182. She didn't expect the Qing clan to be so ruthless. Their Su family's generals, who were supposed to be executed because of their defeat in the war, had all been secretly swapped out by them. They were hidden in the dark and tortured. Su Yu's heart was glad and resentful at the same time. She was glad that she wasn't impulsive at that time and asked Master to exterminate the Qing clan. Otherwise, it would be impossible to know that these Su clan people were still alive. She was resentful because the Qing clan actually tortured the Su clan people like this. Su Yu looked at the Su clan's generals who were led out of the arena. Each and every one of them didn't have an intact and miserable appearance. Her eyes were red. Her cousins, as well as her uncles from the direct line of descent, as well as the numerous clan generals who were loyal to the direct line of descent of the Su clan, Su Yu's hands clenched tightly. I promise you. She had no other choice. The elder of the southern mountain range invited by the Chung clan was watching all of this with cold eyes from the top of the private room upstairs. If she dared to snatch them, not to mention the Su clan people, even the people of the Luo clan Iron Army behind her would not be spared. She couldn't bring the people of the Luo clan Iron Army into danger because of her own selfishness. Master gave the Luo clan people to her so that she could lead them to gain experience in the western wilderness and make a name for themselves. She didn't want to use them for her own personal gain and revenge. Su Yu fiercely bit her lips and agreed in a stern voice. Good. The elder of the Chung clan laughed out loud when he saw that she had agreed to it. The so-called life and death battle was a special gambling game in the western wilderness arena. Because the people of the western wilderness went out to hunt every day and engaged in life and death battles, they accumulated a lot of negative emotions in their hearts. These negative emotions couldn't be completely vented by watching other people's gambling games. But if they were asked to fight by themselves, they cherished their bodies, so it was impossible for them to do so. Therefore, in the arena of the far west desolate region, a so-called literary battle was invented. That was, through a special artifact, the participants of the fighting game could use their spiritual power to control the movements of the contestants in the arena. Like a marionette, he manipulated the opponent to attack and defend. This method not only satisfied the sadistic mentality of the far western desolate region's martial artists, but also allowed them to vent their negative emotions. It was very popular in the arena of the far west wilderness. And now, the elder of the Qing family was going to bet with Su Yu in this kind of literary way. He wanted Su Yu to personally control the generals of the Su family and watch the Su family's people die helplessly under his hands. The arena for the one battle was a very special room. Inside the room, the use of all power was restricted. Only the most primitive and pure physical strength could be used in the battle. The mental strength of the participants would enter the room through a special artifact, controlling their respective competitors to fight. Usually, the contestants for this kind of literary battle were all slaves. However, today, the people who stood in the middle of the fighting field were from both the Qing clan and the Su clan. Those generals of Su clan who were imprisoned and tortured by Qing clan were dragged out of the troop like dogs and pushed into that room. Chapter 1183. With the physique of the Su clan's people. Even if Su Yu was a sage realm expert, she wouldn't be able to defeat him. Third great-uncle is really powerful to think of such a way to torture Su Yu. When the time comes, he will personally control his own Su clan's people to die. Presumably, his heart will be in great pain. This can be considered as revenge for the evil Dr. Gui Tong killing one of our Qing clan's foreign elders and robbing us of our Earth-level spirit ship. The Qing clan's disciple thought so and suddenly felt even more proud. As for the Qing clan's elder, it was needless to say. Who let Su Yu be under the control of evil Dr. Gui Tong? They couldn't deal with evil Dr. Gui Tong, so naturally, they could only vent their anger on him. It just so happened that he had enmity with their Qing clan, so it was just like killing two birds with one stone. The Qing clan's elder thought and suddenly sneered as he put on the special magic tool issued by the Dark Arena. When the magic tool was put on his finger, he suddenly felt that he seemed to have established a subtle connection with the Qing clan's disciple in the room. At the same time, in the room, the Qing clan's disciple clearly felt that his control over his body was taken away. However, because he knew this when he first came in, he didn't panic in his heart. Su Yu's side was the same. After she injected her spiritual power into the magic tool, she immediately felt that she had established a connection with the Su clan's general. Jie, Su Yu, are you ready? Ready, then let's begin. After the Qing clan's elder controlled the disciple's movements, he slightly moved his body. Then, with a boom, he launched an attack at the Su clan's general. Bang! Su Yu controlled the body of the Su clan's general to dodge. However, after a long period of abuse and torture, the Su clan's general's physical quality was very weak. She barely controlled him to dodge to the side, but he was still swept by the attack of the Qing clan's disciple controlled by the Qing clan's elder. In an instant, the Su clan's general vomited blood and flew to the side, heavily smashing into the wall. Cousin. In the one-duel room, all the pain from the attacks would be borne by the contestant. The person who was controlling it would not feel any harm. However, when he saw the Su clan's general being sent flying while vomiting blood, Su Yu felt as if his heart was being ruthlessly torn apart. She was the youngest in the Su family, but because of her high innate talent, she was raised as a boy. She had been the pride of the Su clan's main branch for 18 years. These Su clan's generals had also protected her for 18 years. In the end, she couldn't do anything to help them. She couldn't even save them. Third brother. Looking at the Su family's high-ranking officer being ruthlessly thrown out, the Su family's troops under the control of the Qing family instantly burst into a commotion. The Su family's generals, who had been tortured until they were as thin as firewood, looked at the scene in the Wendul room with red eyes. Their eyes were filled with hatred as they looked at the members of the Qing family. Trash of the Qing family. All of you will die a horrible death. Since you can't beat our Su clan, you resorted to underhanded means. In the future, when hell reincarnates, we will not let you off. You people of the Qing family, just you wait. Chapter 1184. That's right. Fight again. We soldiers can die in battle, but we can't kneel to live. Fight again. Following their voices, the Su family's general, who had been sent flying while vomiting blood, stood up shakily. His internal organs were almost displaced by the attack just now, and the blood he spat out was red with a tinge of black. He wiped the blood from his lips while supporting himself on the wall behind him to stand up. Again. Su Yu, your cousin's dignity is in your hands. Don't let me die too cowardly. He spat out the blood in his mouth as he spoke. Shameless boasting. I'll fulfill your wishes and send you off one by one. The Cheng family elders sneered and controlled the Cheng family disciple on his side to launch an attack. Being able to let you die under Su Yu's control is considered a worthy death. Ha! The Cheng family elder laughed loudly and controlled the Cheng family disciple to launch an extremely ferocious killing move. Cousin! Just when Su Yu's eyes were red and she didn't dare to look, a voice suddenly resounded in her ears. 8 steps to the left, turn right and roll. Swing your blade. Following this extremely familiar voice, Su Yu subconsciously followed the meaning of the words. However, swing the blade? Where did the blade come from? Everyone was attracted by the voice of these words. Their gazes shifted to the room where one duel was taking place. On the other hand, the elder of the Cheng family who was controlling the disciples of the Cheng family laughed wantonly. Ha! Where did this fool come from? That Su family general doesn't have a weapon in his hand. Idiot! The opponent was attacked from the beginning, so how could he have a chance to touch a weapon? Furthermore, even if he has a weapon in his hand, he can't dodge the attack controlled by me. However, before he could finish his words, he was instantly like a chicken that was choked by the neck. In an instant, all the mocking laughter came to an abrupt end. Under Su Yu's control, the Su family's general took 8 steps to the left, then turned to the right, and then fiercely rolled. Coincidentally, it rolled to the side of the weapon rack. There was a saber right in front of him. This series of actions miraculously allowed him to avoid the attack of the Cheng family disciple controlled by the Cheng family elder. This caused the Su clan's general, who was clearly an arrow at the end of its flight, to be swept away by the aftermath of the attack, to not receive the slightest bit of attack or collision. Clang! As he rolled to the side of the weapon rack, he pulled out the long saber and suddenly swung it. Along with this miserable cry, under the control of the elder of Cheng clan, the disciple of Cheng clan who had just released his killing move covered his arm as he screamed miserably and rolled on the ground. His right hand had been severed. In the Wendul room, one could not use any power other than physical strength. Even if the true strength of the Cheng clan's descendant was enough to instantly kill the extremely weak Su clan's general. However, under the situation where he couldn't use any cultivation power, his arm was forcibly severed. In the next second, Chapter 1185. At the same time, the Su family's general also fell heavily to the ground, panting heavily. He won. He actually won. Everyone looked at this scene in shock. They didn't know why the Su family's general was clearly going to die in the next second, but at the last moment, he suddenly turned the situation around. His last series of actions was simply like moving clouds and flowing water, perfect as a textbook. Every step he took was just right to avoid the attack of the Cheng family's disciple and get the saber. Direct counterattack. This series of actions was simply the pinnacle of actual combat. The person who spoke must be very experienced in actual combat. Everyone thought so and immediately looked towards the door where the voice came from. There, Luo Qingtong was dressed in green, elegant and plain, looking very unremarkable. But her face was filled with an undisguised evil smile, which made the elegant and plain aura around her unconcealable, revealing an indescribable evil and domineering aura. Everyone looked at this obviously very ordinary-looking youth, but inexplicably couldn't move their eyes away. Luo Qingtong slowly walked in from outside the door. The smile on her lips was extremely evil and unrestrained. Life and death battle? Interesting. I'll play with you. As Luo Qingtong's figure walked in from outside, the Cheng family's elder who had lost a Cheng family's disciple looked at her with a cold expression. Who are you? What qualifications do you have to play with me? His voice was cold and stern. The other party ruined his good thing, simply deserved to die. She actually dared to say that she wanted to continue playing with him. The Cheng family's elder's face was gloomy to the extreme. On the other side, after Su Yu let the Luo family's Iron Army's people help her cousin up, she immediately looked over with a pleasantly surprised expression. Mas. She was about to speak, but Luo Qingtong raised her hand to stop her. Yijiu, Tianxie's nameless pawn. What? Cheng family's elder doesn't dare to play with me? Luo Qingtong walked over to Su Yu and the others. She sat down in front of a group of excited people. At the same time, she used her eyes to signal them to sit down. Su Yu and the others couldn't suppress the excitement in their hearts. Seeing that Luo Qingtong didn't want to reveal her identity, they immediately suppressed the excitement in their hearts and forced themselves to sit down calmly. But in fact, their hearts were already crazily thinking, "Master is here. Master is here. This is really too great." The group of people were really sullen, especially the Luo family's Iron Army's people. Seeing Su Yu's people's heart, they couldn't bear it. Luo Qingtong's appearance. Everyone was surprised, but their hearts were also filled with joy and excitement. Master, kill Cheng family's peoples. They had previously abused the Su family so miserably. Master's master, Su. You must help Su Yu to vent her anger. The Luo family's Iron Army's people suppressed their voices and whispered to Luo Qingtong. The words of the Su family's general in the Wendul room just now deeply moved them. The Luo family's Iron Army's people were almost all from the army, so they empathized with the Su family's people. Because of this, they especially hated the Qing family's people. Don't forget, the Luo family's old man was also wholeheartedly devoted to the country. In the end, he was almost killed by King Dong Li's cunning rabbit and cook dog. Chapter 1186. Yes. Luo Qingtong narrowed her eyes slightly. She had just arrived here, and she had already learned almost everything from the onlookers. The people of the Qing family were really looking for death. Luo Qingtong's eyes were cold. The bloody light in her eyes glowed, and there was a murderous aura in her beautiful eyes. Humph! I didn't know that there was such a person like you in the heavenly diabolism. Yijio? The elder from the Qing family looked coldly in Luo Qingtong's direction with an unfriendly gaze. There was no such person before the heavenly diabolism. You also said that there was no such person before. Luo Qingtong looked indifferent. She lazily leaned against the back of the chair she was sitting on. His eyes were shimmering with crimson mist as he looked at the elder of the Qing family. Can't you just join now? She smiled wantonly. So you people of the Qing family are in charge of everything, and you even care whether the heavenly diabolism recruits new members or not? She raised her eyebrows as she spoke. It was an ordinary face that had been disguised, but when the girl raised her eyebrows, it revealed a myriad of charm, enchanting and domineering. It was as if an originally ordinary robe suddenly emitted endless light, transforming into a rainbow-colored feather robe. Luo Qingtong didn't suppress her aura anymore. She leaned back in her chair, and her eyes were cold and domineering. She stared at the elder of the Qing family in front of her. She looked like she was saying, "I just can't stand you, so I deliberately joined the heavenly diabolism to fight against you. Bite me if you dare." Looking at the young man's provocative eyes, the blue veins on the elder's forehead twitched. Could. He sneered 3 times and looked at Luo Qingtong with anger. Nowadays, any Tom, Dick, and Harry wants to stand up for others. Why don't you take a look at yourself first? That Qing family elder looked at Luo Qingtong's ordinary face with disdain. She looked like she was only 15 or 16 years old. Luo Qingtong used Qiong Qi's 100 changes to conceal her aura and temperament. She also weakened her appearance, but she didn't change her facial features. Therefore, the elder from the Qing clan was able to see through her real age at a glance. He immediately felt disdain in his heart. He was just a brat who was still wet behind the ears. He actually came to stand up for someone else. He had seen too many of such hotheads. That Qing family elder didn't put Luo Qingtong in his eyes at all. What he didn't know was that this ordinary youth that he looked down on was actually the evil Dr. Ghost Eye that they hated so much that they gnashed their teeth in anger but couldn't afford to offend. Not only that, his opponent was a peak martial emperor who could instantly kill him. His disdain and arrogance made him look like a clown, which made people laugh. Really? I wonder what a person who can't even compare to a Tom, Dick, or Harry. Luo Qingtong didn't get angry when she heard the words of that Qing family elder. She used her gaze to suppress the anger in Su Yu and the others' hearts. She looked at that Cheng family elder indifferently, and the smile on her lips was wanton and mocking. That elder from the Cheng clan instantly recalled the match he had just lost to the other party. Not only did he not manage to deal with Su Yu and the others, but he also lost a Cheng family disciple. Chapter 1187. Fine. I'll play with you. The Cheng family elder looked coldly at Luo Qingtong. However, Su Yu, the winner of the Wen battle, is still the two of us. It's not impossible if you want this kid to play for you. We'll raise the stakes. The Cheng family elder sneered and said, the life and death battle is not supposed to injure the participants. But today I want to change the way we play. Your Su family is going to fight against our Cheng family. If the people on the stage are injured, the people participating in the Wen battle below the stage will also be injured. How about it? Do you dare to bet? The Cheng family elder sneered as he looked at Luo Qingtong and Su Yu beside her. He originally wanted to make this request, but he wanted to make Su Yu sad and feel despair before making the request. He didn't expect this kid called Yijio to suddenly appear and win this round for Su Yu. However, they wouldn't be so lucky in the next round. The Cheng family elder's expression was cold, but Su Yu and Luo Qingtong's expressions were indifferent. I agree, Su Yu said without hesitation. She believed in her master. Good. The Cheng family elder sneered and replied. However, at this moment, Luo Qingtong's voice sounded. Wait, the youth's voice sounded, and the Cheng family elder sneered and looked at her. What? Are you afraid? Since you're afraid, then get lost. This isn't a place for children to play games. The Cheng family elder said with disdain. His target wasn't Luo Qingtong, but the other party who deliberately came out to stir up trouble. After dealing with Su Yu and the others, he would slowly deal with this kid. No, elder of Cheng clan, you misunderstood me, Luo Qingtong said as she slowly got up from her seat and leaned forward. With her hands crossed in front of her body, she raised her head and looked at the elder of Cheng clan with a sneer. What I'm trying to say is that it's just the two of you. What kind of bet is that? Luo Qingtong smiled and looked at the members of the Cheng family. If you want to play, then play big. Look at how badly the people on the stage are injured. Everyone on the other side must be injured like that. How is it? She looked at him with a smile. Do you people from the Cheng clan dare to bet with me? Luo Qingtong deliberately emphasized the word, everyone. As long as that elder of the Cheng clan agreed, not only the members of the Cheng clan in the far west wilderness, but also the members of the Cheng clan in the Rising Sun Nation would not be able to escape. Luo Qingtong didn't want to get involved in the matter between the Cheng family and Su Yu. After all, this was Su Yu's personal grudge. She should take revenge with her own hands. However, the members of the Cheng clan had obviously crossed her bottom line this time. Luo Qingtong didn't want to keep them alive anymore. She wouldn't let anyone from the Cheng clan off. Fine. The elder of Cheng clan sneered at Luo Qingtong. He didn't understand the meaning behind Luo Qingtong's words. However, even if he did, he didn't care. In his opinion, Luo Qingtong couldn't possibly win against him. Betting everyone as a bet would only make the members of Heavenly Diabolism die more miserably. He originally wanted to humiliate Su Yu, and then kill all the people of Heavenly Diabolism here. This elder of Cheng clan wasn't stupid enough to let Su Yu and the others go back after humiliating them. He would let them tell Blackfield and evil Dr. Ghost Eye and then take revenge on the Cheng clan. Chapter 1188. Su Yu, what do you say? He looked at Su Yu sinisterly. The latter nodded without hesitation. Just do as he says. Whatever master says, they will do. Su Yu believed that Luo Qingtong wouldn't lose. Even if Luo Qingtong really asked them to die, she wouldn't even blink. Not to mention the people from the Luo family's iron army behind her. They swore to follow Luo Qingtong's orders for life. Never question. This was one of the essential qualities of a soldier. Good. Since none of you have any objections, then let's begin. The sneer in the eyes of Elder Tian from the Chung family became even colder. Su Yu and the others were really grabbing onto a random person as a life-saving straw. Did they really think that this Yi Jiu could help them win these literary battles just because he had some ability? Idiot. Since he dared to make such a request and let Su Yu fight with him, of course, he came prepared. He wanted to humiliate Su Yu to death and let her see with her own eyes how the Su family members died one by one in her hands. He had been careless previously and allowed Yi Jiu to take advantage of him. The other party's combat experience was indeed extremely rich. It was really good to have such keen combat instincts at such a young age. But if Su Yu and the others thought that they could win by relying on him, then they were gravely mistaken. Because, opening Heaven's eyes, the Cheng family elder looked in the direction of Luo Qingtong and the others and sneered as he raised his hand to wipe his eyes. In an instant, there seemed to be a ball of energy revolving in his eyes, forming the appearance of an eye within an eye. It was a new unique skill that the elder from the Cheng clan had obtained. It could force one's energy and energy into his eyes, allowing his eyes to see through the opponent's moves in a short period of time and predict what the opponent's next move would be. Ever since the Cheng family elder obtained this unique skill, he had experimented with it several times in private. He found that this opening Heaven's eyes was indeed miraculous. The only drawback was that it consumed too much strength, and it could only see one movement of the opponent clearly. After the Cheng clan elder made his move, the surrounding people instantly noticed the change in his eyes, and they immediately cried out in alarm. That's the eye of a Cheng clan elder. Looks like it's a very powerful, unique martial art. The Cheng clan sent the Heavenly Diabolism's people to participate in this duel. Obviously, they are well prepared. I knew it. The Cheng family has the upper hand, so why are they fighting with the Heavenly Diabolism? They even said that they will let one person go if they win one round. So he was just toying with them. It seemed like the Cheng clan was determined to deal with Tian Xie's people. It was estimated that none of these Su family members would survive. All of you will die on the literary battle stage. What are you talking about? Don't forget that the Heavenly Diabolism's people have promised the Cheng family that they will be as injured as the people on the stage. I think they're finished. Yes. It was also proposed by Yi Jiu who just came. Otherwise, Su Yu would suffer at most. Great, the entire Heavenly Diabolism's people are going to be in big trouble. Yes. A group of people shook their heads and sighed. The Heavenly Diabolism's people are also unlucky. They originally wanted to win the duel with Yi Jiu's strength. Chapter 1189. That's right. That Yi Jiu is too arrogant. Now he and the Heavenly Diabolism are going to be in trouble. A group of people were talking at once. Many people looked at the Heavenly Diabolism sympathetically. Among these people, many were familiar with Su Yu and the rest. They had even worked together before. They admired Su Yu and the rest's character. But this time, the Cheng family had invited the elder from the southern region to oversee the situation. No one dared to help them. When they saw that the Heavenly Diabolism was going to lose, they sighed and felt pity in their hearts. When those people of Cheng family saw the elder's action, they immediately laughed complacently. They were all aware of the Cheng clan's elder's hidden trump card. The other party had been hiding until now, just to give the Su family a critical blow at this moment. They looked at the direction of Luo Qingtong and the rest with a complacent expression, waiting to see the despair on Su Yu and the rest's faces. However, Su Yu and the rest's faces didn't change at all. They sat calmly beside Luo Qingtong and didn't have any doubts or uneasiness. They wouldn't regret their master's order even if they had to die. Moreover, how could these people understand their master's ability? Su Yu and the rest's faces were as calm as a mountain. Luo Qingtong chuckled and looked at the elder's eyes meaningfully. Forcing the breath in one's body into one's eyes to form a new pupil within the pupil, which can temporarily see through the opponent's actions? Luo Qingtong's eyes curved slightly. Interesting. She murmured softly. Then she raised her voice and looked at the elder of the Cheng family. Since you're ready, let's start. She originally thought that there was no suspense in this battle of words. She didn't expect the opponent to have such a trump card. This ignited a lot of interest in Luo Qingtong. She would fight with this opening heaven's eye. As Luo Qingtong spoke, the blood-red vortex in her eyes suddenly began to spin. "Bring him here." The Cheng clan elder sneered and waved his hand. In the face of Luo Qingtong's calmness, he and the other members of the Cheng clan took it as a bluff and forced themselves to remain calm. When the Su family's people died one by one in their hands, let's see how those people from the heavenly evil faction would be able to maintain their calm. He wanted those people from the Su clan to be turned into human rods. At that time, the heavenly diabolism's people would also end up like this. As the elder of the Cheng family waved his hand, a general of the Su family and a disciple of the Cheng family appeared in Wendo's room. This time, the disciples sent by the Cheng clan were all tall and sturdy, and it was obvious that they were experts in brute force. This disciple of the Cheng clan might not be very strong, but in terms of physical strength, he was the strongest among the Cheng clan's disciples. His figure was like an iron tower as he walked into Wendo's room. His footsteps made thumping sounds on the ground. Among the people from the Su family, the one who was led out was the thinnest one. Not only that, his age was also relatively old. His figure staggered a little as he walked out. "Uncle!" Seeing the figure of the Su family's general, Su Yu's palm clenched tightly. The people from the Cheng clan were too shameless. Chapter 1190. The heavenly diabolism was bound to lose. This was an unfair fight to begin with. Moreover, it was obvious that the elder from the Cheng clan had cultivated a technique that could help him win the one battle. The heavenly diabolism had no chance of winning at all. That young man called Yi Jiao, no matter how powerful his combat experience was or how sharp his combat instincts were, could he be compared to the Cheng clan elder who had opened his heaven's eye? The Su clan was bound to lose. Everyone sighed inexplicably in their hearts. Luo Qingtong had already received the special Dharma weapon from Su Yu that could participate in the one battle. She was rather surprised to find that the refining of this Dharma weapon was not ordinary. It seemed that the background of the dark colors arena was not small. Luo Qingtong looked at this special Dharma weapon that was obviously not refined by an ordinary weapon refiner and put it on her finger. In an instant, she felt that the Su clan's general in the Wendul room was already under her control. "Ha, kid, since you're ready, then come." That Su clan elder laughed sharply and then fiercely controlled the Cheng clan disciple who was as strong as an iron tower to launch an attack. Bang bang bang. The two of them fought in the one battle room. Although it was the Su clan general and the Cheng clan disciple who were fighting inside. But the real battle was between Luo Qingtong and the Cheng clan elder's consciousness. Both of them controlled their own people and launched attacks on each other. For a moment, the entire Wen battle room was filled with muffled sounds of fists. The two people who were being controlled were carrying out the most primitive battle. Under the control of the Cheng family's elder, the sturdy Cheng family's disciple kept launching attacks. And that Su clan general, under the control of Luo Qingtong, was only constantly defending. The surrounding people saw this and shook their heads constantly. The difference in physical quality of both sides is too great. Although this Yi Jiao is considered smart and knows how to defend and wait for the opportunity to attack, but that Cheng clan disciples' attacks are too fierce and that Su clan general's body is too weak. How could a body that had been abused and hollowed out withstand so many attacks? Even if he only suffered a little damage at a time, the accumulation was enough to cause the Su family's general to suffer great damage. Who knew when his body would reach a critical point? Then, when the next attack came, he couldn't take it anymore. And he was sent flying. However, while all of them were thinking like this, they didn't know that the heart of that disciple from the Cheng clan was filled with astonishment after every single attack. His fist seemed to land on the Su clan's general every time. But, in reality, he hadn't hit anything. Every time the Su family's general retreated to defend, it was actually when his attack range was exhausted. It looked like it had blocked his attack, but in fact, when his attack reached that point, it no longer had any attacking power. He didn't even touch or injure the other party. Terrifying. It was too terrifying. What kind of precise calculation and attack prediction was this, to be able to defend at such a precise point every time? The other party hadn't been attacked at all. Granduncle, you mustn't be fooled. You're tuning in to the Dreamy Chapters YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.